And now we return to local news with Heather.
In the final instalment of an exclusive three-part interview with the Enfield Independent, Spurs fullback Benoit Asuekotu reveals his heartache at getting pipped to the Champions League by Arsenal and explains how he shares a love of fast cars with manager Audrey Villas-Boas. He's experienced the highs of European competition and the lows of sitting at the bottom of the Premier League. But Benoit Asuekotu has revealed that last season's last-minute failure to reach the Champions League was one of his toughest experiences in a Spurs shirt. Last season was different. It was a little bit difficult, said the 29-year-old. I would prefer to finish 8th than finish 5th and miss out by 1 point. On the last game, all our hopes were with Newcastle beating Arsenal, and when we saw the result, it was not easy. But one more time, the manager told us, we know what we did this season, and we know what we have to do next season. Many players were sad, and the fans, I guess, were very sad. But the next weekend, the manager was saying, next season we will do it. We were sad, but there was positivity too. This positive mental attitude is a key attribute Audrey Villas-Boas introduced to White Hart Lane during his first season with Tottenham. Spurs earned some vital late points in the second half of the season through his determination to fight until the final whistle. And Asuekotu says he has developed a unique relationship with the 35-year-old manager since his introduction at the start of last season. He said, "It's a relationship I've never had before, as it's the first time I've had a young manager. I'm sorry to other managers as they are not old, but you know what I mean. Sometimes when we speak, my passion is cars and he likes cars as well, and I'm surprised we can talk about things like that. But you remember, he's not an old man. He still likes speed, so he likes the same kind of cars as me. It is strange to have a young manager, but sometimes it's easier to explain if you have a problem to someone of the same generation. Communication is easier." Asuekotu had fractious relationships with former White Hart Lane bosses Juan de Ramos and Martin Jol before enjoying a close bond with Harry Redknapp, who led a resurgent Spurs into the Champions League. And, following AVB's arrival last year, the Cameroon international says he is enjoying the unique approach from Jose Mourinho's former right-hand man. Asuekotu says he's from a new generation of managers, so sees football in a different way. It's a different way to work. It's not so cool when you change managers, but when you have a manager who comes in, who has big positivity, has big professionalism, and has a different way to work, it is cool.
Enfield Town manager Steve Newing believes his side are in good shape ahead of the new Ryman Premier Division season on Saturday. Town begin with a visit from Met Police before travelling to Kingstonian on Monday evening. That's followed by matches against Grays, Margate, Hendon and Wealdstone, and Newing said, "We've got as tough a start as any team in the league. Hendon are my dark horses. After Christmas, they were the form side in the division last season, while Wealdstone are always tough. But we have a lot of the same players and they know what to expect. Every match has to be treated like a cup final. Obviously, our goal is to improve on last season, and if someone said to me we would finish comfortably mid-table, then fine." Newing added another 3 faces to his squad following the 3-1 friendly win over Whittam Town at Queen Elizabeth Stadium on Sunday. Young striker Jermaine Osei, who scored twice at the weekend, has officially signed from Enfield 1893. Joe Stevens will add competition to the squad at left-back, while former Cheshunt player Corey Whiteley will add attacking flair out wide. Newing said, "I've been after Corey all pre-season, so I'm delighted that he's signed. He was in the Ryman North team of the year. That takes the squad up to 21, and it means that I have 2 players for every position. I've got a stronger squad than last year, and re-signing Chris Wilde at centre-back means I've been able to push Mark Kirby into midfield. There are also 1 or 2 decent attacking options." Newing is still considering adding to his squad, with former Manchester United player Kyle Moran among those in his mind. The boss said he's not played for 2 years due to injury and he has a decent job, but he's a very good player, so we'll see. Striker Adam Wallace and Wilde will be assessed to see whether they're fit to face Met Police.
Openers Neil Tilley and Jack Plum led from the front as Enfield beat local rivals Edmonton to keep their Middlesex County Cricket League Division 3 title push on track. Skipper Plum finished on 70 not out, and former captain Tilly hit 59 as Enfield made it 235 for 5 to claim the Derby bragging rights and, more importantly, move back to the top of the table. Belying their status at the foot of the table, Edmonton came out firing after being put into bat. Kieran Dodds, 4 for 68, was the pick of the Edmonton bowling attack. Winchmore Hill's Premier League relegation fears intensified after a 7-wicket home defeat to Richmond. The sides went into the match level on points, and it was Richmond who hauled themselves into mid-table after comfortably overhauling their hosts 143 all out. Southgate were unable to make the most of home advantage in winning the toss, as they lost by 64 runs against Harrow St Mary's in Division 2. This Saturday, Winchmore Hill are away at Stanmore, Southgate travel to Brentham, Enfield play host to Indian Gymkhana, and Edmonton visit Highgate.
1 year on from their Olympic triumphs, 4 Team GB canoe heroes returned to the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre, and the journalist caught up with some of them to find out how winning a medal had changed their lives and what the legacy of 2012 means to them. On August 2nd, 2012, Etienne Stott and Tim Bailey won gold in the two-man canoe slalom in a time of 106.41 seconds, followed by fellow Brits Richard Hounslow and David Florence, who registered a time of 106.77 seconds to claim silver. The 4 gave interviews at the centre in Station Road, Waltham Cross on Friday, exactly a year after they had sent an already jubilant home crowd into a complete frenzy. When the journalist sat down with the gold medalists, Etienne, who is out for the rest of the season with a shoulder injury, said, "Exactly 1 year ago at 3:35 p.m, our lives completely changed when the results became official and we realised we had won Olympic gold. We are no longer just athletes, we are gold medalists, and we can inspire people and contribute to the legacy. Since our victory, we have been to Buckingham Palace to receive MBEs and have done all sorts of visits to schools and youth clubs. We have even received an honorary degree from the University of Nottingham." Tim said, "While the courses in Athens and Beijing are falling to bits, Lee Valley has been built with the future in mind. The facilities here are absolutely amazing, and it's great that the legacy course has now also opened up for people to use. GB Canoeing have their legacy program in place and are working with schools and colleges to get new talent involved, which is fantastic." Etienne added that youngsters who are keen to try canoeing or whitewater rafting do not need a lot of money, especially if they join a club, and these facilities make it much more accessible for people in and around London to get involved. 3 times canoe slalom world champion Sean Pearce, who competed at senior level during the 1990s and is now Team GB's canoeing lead performance pathway coach, is excited about the Lee Valley Legacy project he is heading. "We are going into schools to find young people keen to get into canoeing, and we have so far engaged more than 1,000 11 and 12-year-olds. 2 weeks ago, we invited 35 of those back here and did further tests with them, and we narrowed that group down to 16, and we currently have 13 youngsters who have been accepted on the programme. They will be paddling every day throughout the summer with the intention of preparing them for competitions fairly quickly and to get some of them into the national junior team by the time they are 15 or 16. The canoe medals won last year and the resulting publicity have helped us a great deal. We hope the legacy programme will start paying dividends in the next 3 to 4 years." After the interviews, the journalists joined Sean, Tim, Richard Hounslow and fellow journalists for a bout of hydrospeeding, a sport similar to bodyboarding and available to anyone aged 12 and over to enjoy at the Legacy Loop, which is smaller than the Olympic course but just as exciting. Fully kitted out in a wetsuit and a helmet, he discovered firsthand the fitness required to be able to steer yourself through the rough water, and the session ended with a slalom competition. Hydro speeding is a physical challenge, lots of fun, and available to the public every Friday between 6 and 7:30 p.m. An hour and a half of carving your way through the surf costs £50 with all kit included.
Enfield 1893 have announced that their FA Cup extra preliminary round tie against London Tigers will now be played at Haringey Borough's home ground of Coles Park on Friday, August the 16th at 7:45 p.m. These home pitch in Brimsdown will not be ready until the end of the month. The winners will be away to Hoddesdon Town or St Margaret's-Bury. Luke Gidding's side were due to continue their build-up to the new Essex Senior League season with a friendly at Saffron Walden last night.
Saracens booked their place in the finals of the JP Morgan Sevens this Friday after finishing runners-up in their qualifying group. Sarries had home advantage to the Group C qualifier at Alliance Park on Saturday. They made it count as they beat London Irish and London Wasps before narrowly losing to Harlequins to qualify for the finals at the Rec in Bath. Tries from Jack Wilson, Niels Mort, Ben Ransom and Tim Strether gave Saracens a convincing 24-12 bonus point win over Irish in their opener. They followed that up with a 21-17 victory over Wasps, thanks to tries from Chris Ashton, Michael Taji Kabu and Ransom. The final match against Harlequins decided the winners of the group, and it was the South London outfit who edged a scintillating match, winning 24-21 with a late interception try. Saracens will now take on Leicester Tigers, Newcastle Falcons, Worcester Warriors, Gloucester, Bath and Harlequins in the finals. Winger Strether, who impressed on his first appearance after joining Sarries from Nottingham, said, "There's a lot more room in sevens than in the 15-a-side format, so it gives you a chance to showcase the more attacking side of your abilities. It's nice to hopefully show the fans a few glimpses of what I'm capable of, and I'm just looking forward to pulling on that jersey and playing for Saracens again." Meanwhile, another new Saracens signing, Billy Vunipola, has been called up to the England senior squad. He joins brother Mako and backs Brad Barrett, Chris Ashton, Owen Farrell and Alex Good in the 33-strong elite squad. There are also 5 Saracens players in the England Saxon squad, forwards Will Fraser and George Cruis, and backs Richard Wrigglesworth, Joel Tompkins and David Strettle.
A charity for adults with learning disabilities is already getting a kick out of its new games areas. The multi-use area at the Radio Marathon Centre in Turkey Street, Enfield, was designed with a surface that is accessible for wheelchair users to play football and basketball. It was unveiled during the centre's annual fundraising Summer Fete last month and was funded partly by the Mayor of London's Sports Facilities Fund. Centre manager Alison Tong said the new facility, the first of its kind in the area, will be an extra source of fundraising for the centre. She said, "It's a fantastic new facility on which you can play a good quality football game. It's a small, more intimate venue, so you can do ball skill development." The charity, which was established in Enfield in 2006, originated from a movement in Cyprus. It runs courses reorganised by the AQA Education Charity in horticulture, catering, office administration, drama, creative design and football coaching. Radio Marathon has a children's centre and runs a variety of services for families. The centre also funds the Greek and Greek Cypriot Youth Club for young people with learning disabilities. For more information about the charity or to hire out the multi-use games area, call 01992 713 297 or visit www.radiomarathon.co.uk.
Laura Trott won the inaugural Prudential Ride London Grand Prix around St James's Park in central London on Saturday evening, claiming what she called sweet revenge over national criterium champion Hannah Barnes in a sprint finish. The former Cheshunt schoolgirl timed her finish to perfection to take victory in a race she felt she had to win. Led down the mall by her Team Wiggle Honda teammate Danny King at the end of 15 laps of the 1.3-mile circuit, the 21-year-old double Olympic track champion threw her arms in the air and screamed in delight as she beat Barnes to the line by a bike length. She said afterwards, "This feels like my event, so I felt I had to win. I'm so glad that I did it."
And now information about a forthcoming show at the Millfield Theatre. The Elvis Years, 1954 to 1977, is playing on Thursday the 12th and Friday the 13th of September at 8 p.m. at the Millfield Theatre. Described as the best Elvis performer in the world, Mario is returning to the Millfield stage in a brand new show, The Elvis Years, capturing the musical life and career of a legend and featuring over 40 Elvis favourites. It's the ultimate Elvis musical experience, performed by a cast of huge talent, fronted by the incredible Mario Combu. Over 30 years since Elvis died, and an incredible 57 since Heartbreak Hotel became his debut #1 single, the magic, allure and legend of Elvis Presley is still as strong as ever. Tickets are £20 or £18 for concessions from Millfield Tickets, or online £19, £17 for concessions.
A group of GPs charged with commissioning health services in the borough have called on Enfield North MP Nick Dubois to drop his opposition to the planned downgrade of Chase Farm Hospital. In a letter sent to the Conservative MP on July the 24th, Liz Wise, Chief Officer of the Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, said that the implementation of the Barnet, Enfield and Haringey clinical strategy was critical to the long-term sustainability and quality of healthcare services in Enfield. The £115 million strategy will see accident and emergency and maternity services removed from the hospital in the Ridgeway, Enfield, in November. Ms. Wise's letter came in response to a letter sent by Mr. Dubois on July the 2nd, in which he pointed to a recent report commissioned by Enfield Council, concluding that the clinical strategy was based on inaccurate population projections, that improvements to primary care had been lacking, and that question marks over the future provision of maternity services remained. In her letter, Ms. Wise set out a detailed repudiation of that report. She said it drew on information obtained from the NHS in November 2012, as opposed to details from full business cases published in February 2013, which included more accurate modelling and said that the original population projections did not throw into doubt the whole strategy. She added that projections of patient flows are constantly revised so that there is sufficient capacity at hospitals, and that concentrating A&E and maternity at Barnet and North Middlesex hospitals will allow for better and safer care. The acute aspects of the clinical strategy are not dependent on improvements in primary care, and maternity capacity at Barnet and North Middlesex is based on the most accurate and up-to-date population figures, wrote Ms. Wise. Mr. Dubois said, a commitment was made that sufficient primary care development must be provided before services are being taken away from Chase Farm, which I have repeated time and time again. The clinical commissioning group argues that population projections are irrelevant, but I disagree, as these projections formed the basis of the strategy and turned out to be wide off the mark. Enfield Council leader Doug Taylor said, the assertion that the acute changes don't assume anything being undertaken in primary care doesn't alter the promise made by the Secretary of State to ensure improvements were in place before downgrading A&E. A struggling primary care sector inevitably adds continued pressure on acute services. That is the prospect which we face. Enfield Council leader Doug Taylor has rubbished Tory MP Nick Dubois' suggestion that the authority is unwilling to engage with health commissioners over the future of Chase Farm. In the latest political tit-for-tat over the future of the hospital in the Ridgeway Enfield, Mr. Dubois wrote to Mr. Taylor on Thursday, urging him to support a cross-party meeting with the Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, which is expected to approve downgrading Chase Farm next month. The Enfield North MP wrote, "I have had a detailed repudiation by the Clinical Commissioning Group of the Independent Consultants' Report, which Enfield Council commissioned, and I believe that we should personally challenge this position. I'm hoping you will reconsider your decision not to meet with the Clinical Commissioning Group, as it is essential we maintain a united and consistent level of practical opposition to the reconfiguration." But Mr. Taylor said, "I'm not sure how it can be suggested the Council is unwilling to meet with the Clinical Commissioning Group, as the Council's Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Panel has already examined the first report with the Chief Officer and Chair of the Clinical Commissioning Group, together with Chief Executives of both local hospitals present. The Clinical Commissioning Group have an important part to play in this debate, but this is a national health service. Mr. Dubois cannot forget that in opposition, the Conservative Party were going to save Chase Farm, and Jeremy Hunt can do just that now by being bold and decisive. If approved, Chase Farm will lose its A&E and maternity department in the third week of November."
And now for some gardening tips from Tom Wheatcraft, Senior Gardener at Capel Manor Gardens. With summer in full swing, it is easy to forget the very slow start to the season which we had and the long hard winter it followed. It took what seemed to be an age to get started, with buds reluctant to break and flowers refusing to flower on cue, and it's only the recent hot weather which has really got things moving. It appears that everything has caught up all at once, with the sweet peas, roses and summer flowering perennials all delivering a long-awaited display of pretty cottage garden blooms. In addition, the dahlias, monarda and daylilies are combining well with their splashes of exuberant colour. It really is a great time to be enjoying your garden. If, like the growing season, you too have got off to a slow start, it is not too late to get a really good display out of your summer pots. Seasonal containers are a great way to inject some summer colour into the garden, ideal for your decking or patio, and with a bit of care, they should continue to perform right through to the first frosts in autumn. And Tom's top tips for summer gardening: number 1, irrigate. Don't let all your hard work go to waste. Remember to water. Nothing beats watering by hand direct to the base of the plant. Number 2, don't be tempted to cut your lawn too short during a dry spell. It will be more prone to drought damage and will discolour more quickly. Number 3, deadhead. Removing the finished blooms from roses has to be one of the most rewarding jobs, as you improve the overall appearance of the shrub or climber and promote flowering further. Number 4, pick your crops. Now is the time to reap what you sow. Soft fruit has been fantastic so far this year. Don't let it go to waste. Number 5, feed your plants. You will be rewarded with bigger crops and longer flowering. And number 6, look out for mildew. Give the plants a good water and spray with a fungicide if required.
And the Advertiser Comment column says, "Getting more people into our town centres is an admirable ambition. As we have reported in this paper, the High Street is struggling, while out-of-town shopping centres with extended hours and vast car parks seem to be going from strength to strength. While it seems there are endless campaigns to make parking easier, maybe we should be looking beyond the power of 4 wheels. With Enfield's worrying obesity problem, surely we should be doing everything in our power to get people walking and biking. If we made it easier for bikes to negotiate the potentially lethal junction at London Road and Cecil Road and pedestrianised Church Street, then Enfield Town would not only become more inviting for people, but frankly more friendly. We have reported not only on the obesity crisis, but also on the problem of ever-rising pollution levels in the borough. We need to take brave and maybe even unpopular steps to tackle these issues. Otherwise, we will be forever stuck with bulging waistlines and wheezing chests.
And now a plea from a Mrs. M. Rutty, who is trying to locate some friends that she wants to get in touch with. The couple are Linda and Terry Wilkinson, and they have 3 sons, one of whom lives or lived off Ballsmore Lane in Enfield. They originally lived at Fowey Mead Parks in Waltham Cross before moving to Spain. Their son Derek has a wife and 1 son that Mrs. Rutty knows of, and another son, Tony, is married to Lorraine. They have 3 children and live in Manchester, and he's a driving instructor for BSM. The couple's younger son, Chris, has 2 daughters. This is Linda and Terry Wilkinson, and Mrs. Rutty is wondering if they're now back in the UK. If you can help at all, then you can get in touch with her via the contact details at www.northlondon-today.co.uk.
Enfield will receive a slice of a £30 million fund from the Mayor of London to help build new homes for the elderly and disabled. The borough has been allocated £1 million from the Mayor's Care and Support Housing Fund, paying towards the development of 20 homes for disabled and the elderly in the area. Adapted bathrooms and homes with very few or no stairs and cupboards at a reachable height for wheelchair users are all guidelines that the new 20 homes will have to adhere to. Mayor of London Boris Johnson said it's essential that we increase the supply of purpose-built quality homes for older and disabled Londoners if they're to have a real choice in how and where they live. These affordable homes will help people in Enfield remain in their own communities and, with a greater demand for quality and design, raise the benchmark for how this type of specialised housing is delivered in the future.
Hundreds of people enjoyed a buffet lunch to celebrate the 40th anniversary of a care company. Scimitar Care Hotels first opened in 1973 in Minchinton Lodge in Southgate and marked its milestone by hosting the grand event at its Five Oaks Hotel site in Cockfosters Road, Hadley Wood. Looking after 320 people across its 6 sites in the southeast, Scimitar offers long-term care services and respite for carers. On Saturday, 170 carers and care home residents were treated to a feast, along with Deputy Mayor Councillor Ingrid Cranfield. Paul Sargent, Managing Director of Scimitar, said, "Without the staff, there's no way we would have been here for 40 years, and we are giving something back." Operations Director Luke Sargent added, "We wanted to move away from the institutionalised idea of a care home. It's a beautiful event, and it is a family business which we are very proud of."
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So, from the team of Audrey in the background, who you didn't hear from, but there's a laugh, Katherine, Malcolm, Heather and myself, Francis, and Dave on the controls, it's
Goodbye.
Bye. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible, in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper. And the Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.